Welcome to Rude, Crude, and Socially Unacceptable on another reading of our No Sleep story time. This time with me, I have Troy.
Oh, hi. Hi.
And my wife.
Howdy.
Howdy.
That's scandalous.
What'd you say?
We thought we were gonna. I said that's scandalous. We thought you were gonna wind up with diesel patches.
This is true. A lot of people commenting said that I'm his boyfriend.
Oh.
Yeah, actually. Why is that funny?
Because I just know both of you, and that's just really funny to me. Because I could see it. I could see it.
All right. Well, anyway,
You got them baby blues.
This one's called I'm a search and rescue officer for the U.S. Forest Service, and I have some stories to tell. That's the like entry. There's part 1, there's part 2, this is part 3. It's a section of that. Now,
Oh, what was part 1 and 2?
see,
level of scariness. Like, is 3 more scarier than part 2?
oh yeah, it goes in like a sequence, right? Part 1 is going to be like you get your blood pressure going. Yeah. Part 2, you get a little bit of dribble in your pants, like you're getting there. And then, if I'm not wrong, part 3 is just full on like just poop. No, maybe nothing. Okay. Well, but anyway, the thing about this one is, and I've heard it before. It's kind of it's more so like I think creepy, just to think about, because I haven't fully determined if this guy's like actually these are like literal accounts of his like goofy, like not goofy, but like his kind of freaky encounters, because it's believable. It makes sense to the point where it's not like some like I saw Siren Head or Slenderman. It's like it just kind of sounds a little more real.
That
like
makes it worse. The realistic.
But I know, and that's the thing. That's the other thing. So I don't know if these are true because he has a ton of entries of this. But regardless, the story is a story, true or not. We'll just read it. So this is his entry. It says, I honestly don't know how I'd forgotten this story, but it is by far the scariest thing that's happened to me. I guess maybe I've tried so long to forget about it that it just didn't come to mind right away. As someone who spends literally all of their time in the woods, you don't ever want to let yourself get scared of being alone or out in the middle of nowhere. That's why when you have experiences like this, you tend to just forget about them and move on. This is, to date, the only thing that's ever made me really seriously consider if this job is right one for me. I don't really like talking about it much, but I'll do the best I can to remember it all. As I recall, this took place at the end of spring. It was a typical lost child call. A 4-year-old girl had wandered away from her family's campsite and had been missing for about 2 hours. Her parents were completely despondent and told us what most parents do. My kid would never wander away. She's so good about staying close. She's never done anything like this before. We assure the parents that we'll do everything we can to find her, and we spread out in a standard search formation. I was partnered with one of my good buddies, and we were sort of casually holding conversation while we hiked. I know it sounds callous, but you do sort of become desensitized when you've done this long enough. It becomes the norm. And I think to a certain extent, you have to learn to desensitize yourself in order to work this job. We search for a good 2 hours, going well beyond where we think she'd be. And we come out of a small valley when something makes us both stop in unison. We freeze and look at each other, and there's almost a sensation like a plane depressurizing. My ears pop, and I have this odd sensation of having dropped about 10 feet. I started to ask my buddy if he felt that, but before I can, we hear the loudest sound I've ever heard in my life. It's almost like a freight train passing directly by us, but it's coming from every direction at once, including above and below us. He screams something to me, but I can't hear him over this deafening roar. Understandably freaked out, we look all around us, trying to find the source of the sound, but neither of us sees anything. Of course, my first thought is a landslide, but we're not near any cliffs, and even if we were, it would have hit us by now. The sound goes on, and we're trying to yell to each other, but even standing close together, we can't hear anything but this sound. Then, as suddenly as it starts, it stops, like someone threw a switch or cut it off. We stand there for a second, perfectly still, and slowly the normal sounds of the woods come back. He asks me what the heck just happened, but I just kind of shrug, and we stand there looking at each other for a minute. I get on the radio and ask if anyone else just heard the end of the expletive world, but no one else hears it, even though we're all within shouting distance of each other. My buddy and I just sort of shrug it off, keep going, and about an hour later, we all check up on the radios. No one's found the little girl. Most of the time, we don't search when it gets dark, but because we don't have any kind of lead on her, a few of us decide to keep going, including me and my buddy. We keep close together, and we're calling out for her every couple of minutes. At this point, I'm hoping beyond hope that we find her, because while I may not like kids, the idea of them being out all alone in the dark is awful. The woods can be intimidating to kids in the daylight, and at night, it's a whole different beast. But we're not seeing any signs of her, or getting any responses, and around midnight, we decide to turn around and head back to the rendezvous point. We're about halfway back when my buddy stops and shines his light to the right of us, into a really thick deadfall, or a group of dead trees. I asked him if he heard a response, but he just told me to be quiet for a second and listen. I do, and in the distance I can hear what sounded like a kid crying. We both call the girl's name and listen for any kind of response, but it's just this really faint crying. We head in the direction of this deadfall and go around it, calling her name over and over. As we get closer to the crying, I start getting this weird feeling in my gut, and I tell my buddy that something isn't right. He tells me that he feels the same way, but we can't figure out what it is. We stop where we are and call the girl's name again, and at that same time we both figure it out. The crying is on a loop. It's the same little hitching sob, then wail, then quiet hiccup, repeated over and over. It's exactly the same every time, and without saying another word, we both take off running. It's the only time I've ever lost my composure like that, but something about it was so incredibly wrong, and neither of us wanted to stay out there anymore. When we got back to the rendezvous, we asked if anyone else had heard anything strange, but no one else knew what we were talking about. I know it sounds sort of anticlimactic, but that call screwed me up for a long time. As for the little girl, we never found a trace of her. We keep an eye out for her and all the other people who we've never found, but frankly, I doubt we'll ever find anything. Of the missing person calls that have gone out on, only a handful have ever really resulted in a complete disappearance, meaning no trace of the person and nobody ever found. But sometimes finding a body just leads to more questions than answers. So that was it.
I don't like at all. Like, I mean, is it like an audio recording? Like, is this what it makes it sound? But like at the same time, like what's causing that loud sound to begin with?
Yeah, that loud
You know?
sound is really weird. I kind of forgot about that detail when I wanted to read this one, but it makes me feel uneasy because not only is it like, why is that an audio recording? Obviously, they're being lured, and if they are, then by what? You know, who is out there trying to hunt them? Are they finding a next victim, or is it like, what exactly is it? But then my other question is like, where did they get the audio from? Like, and it's just, it just is more uneasy than like full on creepy. Like, Troy, you and me, I think just complete like defecated everywhere at that last one that we just did. And then now this one's just this uneasy, like uncomfortable feeling for me, like hearing this.
Oh yeah, it's just kind of like it's almost like I don't want to believe that it's true, but that's the thing is like the details and like the way that the story is told, it's almost like that it could be true. And to me, it's almost like they almost stumbled upon like a serial killer or something, just kind of like chilling in the woods. Or I mean, that's where my brain went automatically. Serial killer, not like necessarily like supernatural or like a paranormal thing, but like
right. I don't know.
Yeah,
But that one always made me, when I first heard it, it made me feel a little uneasy. So I wanted to revisit it because somebody at work, I was talking to, I was talking about how I started doing this with my with the YouTube channel, the just different creepy story readings, and he was like, "Oh, have you ever heard this one?" And he started describing it a little bit. I'm like, "Oh, and it just reminded me of it." But yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I kind of left you on like a cliffhanger.
Oh, it's certainly a cliffhanger because they never found her. You
Yeah.
know? Or your
Right.
thoughts?
I was expecting like something way worse.
Yeah.
Simply because like I walked in here and it's like,
Well,
oh,
okay.
the
So
previous video was that you guys watched was terrible, and I was kind of like bracing myself.
yeah,
So I felt like there was a little bit of like a disappointment that it wasn't like more like creepy. But it's definitely one of those things where the more you think about it, that is really creepy.
yeah.
Because you
It's like
hear
it
like
takes a bit.
you often hear like random noises too, in the woods or even like around your house and stuff, and then to like associate those random noises being
Yeah.
placed
Well,
there,
here's
that is
okay.
creepy. That's creeps me out.
So I just remembered something, and Troy, I haven't told you this because it's
Ooh.
nothing. Like it's literally nothing. But it's like one of those things that kind of like it just randomly happens like throughout your day, and it kind of causes like a bit of chills and questioning. Like a couple weeks ago, I was walking around our apartment, and I honestly think it must have been the wind or something, but I swear, like it sounded like 2 feet from me. I heard, "Hey," and I was like looking around. I'm like, no, probably wind in the like window, but I was just like thinking, I'm like, that's a little weird. It's nothing, obviously, because I don't think that it would like I don't believe in any of the stuff that it would be,
Yeah.
but like no, it's just it was almost like distinct, and it kind of like you hear things weird, and it's like I guess your brain processes sound to sound like to form a word. It's like you're just making a weird.
You always have a bias, like a mental bias
Right. So
towards
your
something.
mind is like looking for those sounds to go in such a way that form a word.
Mm.
So it's like any sound that kind of like similarly kind of mimics that like same sound, probably your brain just automatically is like, "Oh, it's saying this."
Mm.
But like it still kind of made me feel weird cuz like you were at work and I'm like,
I know you go crazy when you're home alone.
"I do. I need you." she, she
Jacob is
just
a
gave me
simp.
the most like the like never mind, this a look just like the just heavily exaggerated anyway.
Uh, so that kind of segues into something that happened to me uh recently.
Oh, did the ringing go
So,
away?
did you? But yes.
Oh,
Now I have to
okay.
worry about hearing bells now. Thank you. Um, but no, I heard. I uh, like I have never. I had a long story short. I can't even. I don't even want to talk about it honestly. But I'm gonna do it for the content. So
Do
last
it for the clicks.
week, by last week, I think it was Saturday.
Tuesday.
Look, my week starts on a Wednesday, so like my days are goofed. Um, okay, so basically what happened was in the place that I work in a dorm, and so I had to go in and flush some toilets because we hadn't flushed the pipes in a while, so I had to do that. So I was going down to every vacant room and flushing toilets. And now the night before I had to do this, one of my coworkers saw like a shadow figure, and that freaked me because I was like, nah, I don't believe that. Like, I mean, I believe in like super like ghosts and stuff like that, but at the same time, I'm always skeptical of when people see something. Well, I was very skeptical of the I was very skeptical of her seeing that, but at the same time, it all made sense. But it's not the story I'm going to tell you. The story that I'm going to tell you is what happened to me. So she saw this shadow figure in this room next to the room that I had to go into on Saturday night. Now, the way that the rooms are set up is you walk into the room, you open up the front door, and they have four beds up against the wall on the left hand side, and on the right hand side you have closets, and then to the right you have the bathroom. Um, so I am already slightly on edge from what my coworker had seen the night before, and I was like, well, I kind of believe it, kind of don't believe it. So I'm in the room, and I've just flushed the toilet, and I am standing in the bathroom, and I am looking at my phone, because I was looking at my phone. I checked my phone, and to the left of me, I heard I heard a voice, and it was a girl voice, and I initially looked up to the door because I heard it come from the door, and I was expecting to see my coworker there, and um she was not there, obviously. Uh, so I was like, okay, what the hell is that? So I'm kind of standing there, freaked out of my mind, because I'm like, I know I just heard a voice, and it was a disembodied voice. So it wasn't like it made out any like words or anything like that, because it almost sounded like when like you hear people talking like near you, but you can't make out what they're saying, but you can still hear their voice. That's basically what this was. And so I like poop myself, open the door, and I
At least
like
you're in the bathroom, right?
yeah, I lost my composure. I walk into the office, and now I thought it might have been my coworker playing a prank on me because I told her what happened the night before, and we've been hearing some weird things, but sometimes she'll like try and freak me out. But the thing with that is that in the whole dorm that we're in right now, there are a total of 4 students, 1 employee or 2 employees, including myself, and they're all on the west side. I'm on the east wing of the building. And so I go back to the office, and when I walk in, the lights are off because they're on a 5 minute timer. So I know that no one has moved in the last 5 minutes. Because when I walk in, the lights go on. So it's not like she just turned on or off the lights. And so I sit in the chair. She goes, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I just heard a voice." And I just lost it. I was like, I don't know what the hell just happened, but I heard a voice, and I'm like at this point, I'm like freaking out because I was like pure white, and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Well, no. Here's what happened." So yeah, I heard a voice a couple nights ago at my job, and if that doesn't give me more reason to quit my job than the management, then I don't know what does. So that's my story. I heard a yeah, man, yeah.
Like, did
Neat.
you make out words?
No,
Yes, I was at work.
no. She asked if you made out
Oh,
words. He said that kind of like, well, similar to us. Like we've got neighbors, right? You can
Yeah.
hear the voices, but you can't like make out what they're saying because it's kind of muffled. He's saying like it's similar to like walking past somebody in
Mm.
conversation. You're not truly paying attention to what they're saying, but you can hear their voice.
yeah. It
Saying it's
was
kind of
like
like
it
that.
was enough to bring my attention to the direction that the voice came, and I was like, somebody. I was like, hello. I actually said, I was like, hello, hello, and nobody was there, obviously, and I was like, oh, what the fuck? Ah,
Yeah, that is really
and
creepy. I don't like that.
yeah, had a trickle of pee,
It's
I
just stuff
think.
like that though that my mind usually goes to, oh, what could it be? Like how I just reasoned with like what I heard. It's like I think that that's what it was. I think the wind came in a way that was like kind of like mimicking.
Oh, like, have
You
you
know,
been to the greenhouse area on campus? And if it's windy, just the right time, it just sounds like
it's just like this
screaming,
eerie, just like
screaming. I feel like I've never had that, like those moments that I don't feel like I ever had a moment I was like so afraid of something.
cool story. Anyway, so Troy,
Yeah, it was a cool story.
I'm
You
kidding.
dick.
Yeah.
Thanks, Troy. This is my life now since getting married.
No. Troy.
Mm?
Just thought nothing. It was just silent. Um.
Yeah, no, the ghost got me. I'm dead.
Oh. Oh. Hey. At least the ringing stopped.